The Sports Unfolded, episode 12. We're doing something a little different today. Appreciate Ron working with me. A little under the weather. Felt it was the best thing for me to just stay away and not get you sick as well. Not COVID.
Oh, absolutely.
Related. Not COVID related. So that's good news. Let's start off with our leadoff story. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers are in a standoff. Rodgers has stated that he will not play for the team next season. Rodgers will play for the Packers next season.
Well, you hope that he's at least going to play this year. I'm not so sure it's going to be with Green Bay. I mean, there is time to still make a trade. He's not happy, though. He's not happy.
No, and I know basically what they're saying is June 1st, it's less of a salary cap hit for the Packers. So I don't think we're going to see anything for at least another, couple weeks. But
absolutely, yeah.
As I was looking at his numbers, 190 games with the Green Bay Packers, second most in Packers history. 126 wins, 63 losses, one tie, 51,000 yards, over 51,000 yards, 412 touchdowns, 89 interceptions.
I mean, you got to think he's going to play for at least another 4 or 5 years, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's a little odd. I don't know what's going on. He's a little hurt by, I think, the drafting of Love last season. The fact that they haven't gotten an offensive player for him in, the last 12 drafts that he's been in, other than a quarterback in the first round. I mean, he's brought them to 21 playoff games, 12-9. He's got one Super Bowl title, 9-time Pro Bowler, 3-time league MVP. He leads the Packers in every statistical. He's second in every statistical category for the Green Bay Packers. So just think about the impact he's had on that organization.
Yeah, I don't understand why they would risk what they know, and you have top 3 quarterback in the league to go on and move on from him and go with Love and not knowing what you're going to really get. I mean, I don't understand this. I would take him for another 4 or 5 years over anything that they have right now. I think it's just a terrible, terrible move for Green Bay to make. I don't like it at all. Although, unless he comes to New England, then I would love it.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, they're really not going to get the payback that is going to be that same quality. They won one game away from the Super Bowl last season. I honestly felt Aaron Rodgers lost that championship game for them last season. I really think, other than the coaching decision to kick a field goal versus going for a tying score. So,
yeah, it's never perfect. You don't have like the greatest quarterback to ever play the game, but he's certainly, I would think, easily top 15 at least. I don't know. I just think, the chances of hitting the lottery again for what, the 4th time?
Yeah, at least the 3rd. I mean, between Brett Favre leads the team in all those categories, and then Aaron Rodgers is second. So you talk about the last 30 years, just what Green Bay's had from a quarterback standpoint, you don't see that.
Right, and I think it would be a bad move to move on from him.
Yeah. I have to agree.
I can't, understand, like is Love that good? Sorry. Maybe I'm already sick.
I don't think they realize what's going on. I don't think Love's ready for another. If you think about it, Aaron Rodgers sat for about 4 years before he actually even played. He sat behind Brett Favre, so that seemed to be a great formula for them.
Now I'm choking to death. Yeah, which is what Green Bay is doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to the some NBA news. And let's discuss the Los Angeles Lakers and how concerned should the fans be about LeBron James' current state heading into the playoffs. So if you think about it, LeBron James came back from that ankle injury. He tested it out, ended up re-injuring it. Is going to sit again. There's only a handful of games left in the season. How concerned should they be?
They should be very concerned, actually, because if they don't have LeBron James, they're going to lose in the first round.
Yeah, so he's missed 22 games so far. They're 9-13 overall without him. If you think about it, he leads them in points. He's got almost 8 rebounds and almost 8 assists a game. How do you replace that?
You don't. You don't. Not at this point.
No.
I mean, if it was before trade deadline and you make a trade for a player that can put up those numbers, which there aren't many, especially being available, you don't replace that. And you kind of see this is like maybe the beginning of the end for LeBron. Like, I mean, it's now glaring.
This is the most games he's missed in any one season. So again, age factor, the amount of games and wear and tear on his body that he's had, it's possibly you could start to see the end of a great career, a Hall of Fame career. But this is a short tail sign that he may not be able to come back from these injuries as quickly or as easily as he did once in the past.
I mean, you look at the minutes he's played, as you mentioned. Do you realize he's played 2 seasons in just playoffs?
Crazy.
That's insane. He's played so much. There's a lot of miles, and I think it's finally catching up to him, and easily going into the Hall of Fame, obviously. But
yeah, without a doubt.
But I think his decline is here and now.
So they're currently 6th in the West. They're only a game ahead of Portland for the 7th spot, which is the play-in game. And
they're gonna drop below Portland.
Yeah, and I looked at it. Their last 7 games here that they have left in the season. You're looking at the Clippers. They play Portland, which is obviously going to be a crucial game. Phoenix, New York, Houston, Indiana, and New Orleans. I only see one easy win out of that whole thing, and that's Houston. They could possibly lose every other game in that without LeBron.
They could. And what you may see them, in the 9-10 spot. Like, that would be unbelievable. And it would certainly change the playoff look. Yeah,
I mean, if you think about some of those bottom, we could be seeing like the Lakers and the Warriors. Who would have expected that in the playoff game?
And then that's a toss-up in my book, because you don't know, if somebody's just going to be dropping threes all game and knock the Lakers out.
Yes,
and we know who that someone is.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting next week or so for the Lakers, and Laker fans. I think they should be extremely concerned about their chances of repeating.
Yeah, they should be concerned. It's going to be ugly if they get bounced right away, and if they have a play-in game, that's one game, and if they still don't have LeBron James, they're going to be bounced.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So, speaking of probably getting bounced, the Boston Celtics, I mean, we've talked about it on several shows now, but they're tied for the 7th spot, 6-7. It's a dead heat with the Miami Heat. And they would have to play in that playoff game. Should we assume that, overall, the way they've played all season, that this is basically a lost season for the Boston Celtics?
I mean, they're not going to the championship, so I mean, it doesn't even matter really. So, and for them, how the expectations are there for the team, it is a lost season, and they should actually be embarrassed where they are right now, because there's no excuse. There's no excuse. Like, I don't want to hear from anybody that, oh, well, all these injuries and stuff like that, but play hard. Like, I'm sorry. Like, somebody made a comment on the game last night that, oh, well, they come in and they play hard every night. No, they don't. No, they don't. They should be blowing out some of these teams. Yeah, they got a big win yesterday, but they should, like, losing to Chicago and losing to all the – come on, you gotta just play. Like, I don't want to see a crappy triple-double. Like, Tatum had the worst triple-double in history. I don't want to see that. Like, you turn the ball over more than you're scoring. That's terrible. It's
Yeah, if you
terrible,
think
and that's what this team has given us every single week.
they have two legitimate superstars, I'd say two top 15 players in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. You would expect that the rest of the guys, Kemba Walker, I know he's on, but they have quality played an impact and been able to at least be in the top 4 in the East. It's really baffling to me how they haven't been able to figure out this entire season.
No. And the whole Kemba Walker thing, like, how long is he going to be on every other game? I mean, this is ridiculous already. He's a pro athlete. He needs to get out there and play. Like, I'm sick of it. Like, how do you even look in the mirror at yourselves as a team when you got guys just taking days off whenever they feel like it seems? It makes no sense to me.
And if you think about it with Kemba, I think we're still locked in for another 2 years, and this is going to be a trend. That knee is not healthy. So next season, you're going to see the same exact thing. He'd be sitting, in back-to-backs. So, I mean, what are they really gaining at this point with Kemba Walker?
No. Look, if this team had any heart, they'd be, at least 4th place. If it had any heart. So maybe they should give a call over to the Boston Bruins to see, if somebody is available. Maybe Patrice Bergeron can go over and play some games with them. At least he'll give it an effort.
How about the last few games remaining? They got Chicago, 2 with Miami. So you think about those 2 with Miami, they're back-to-back. Realistically, if they lose both of those, they're in the 7th seed. There's no.
If they lose one of those, they're going to be in the 7th seed.
They've got Cleveland, who obviously they should beat, but again, depends on what team shows up. Minnesota, who honestly has started to play much better as of late. I think they've won 6 of the last 9, or something to that effect. So Minnesota is no pushover. Not that they're a great team, but again, depending on what Celtic team shows up. And then they ended off with the Knicks, who honestly, we discussed last week, I still feel is one of those top contending teams to possibly win the East. I think Brooklyn's a mess right now.
Yeah. Well, looking at the Celtics schedule, I mean, it's the easiest schedule in the league right now the rest of the way. Yes, you have New York Knicks, but, I mean, come on. Like, you have a cakewalk to your playoff run. I mean, this is what you dream of. This is the schedule you dream of when you need to get some wins.
Again, the only team that really those 2 Miami games, but the other teams are losing records other than the Knicks. So,
right.
There's 3 wins there, split with Miami, and then it depends on what you do against New York. But I just the fact that they're a 500 ball club most of the time, it's just amazing to me. I just don't understand what happened, where they went wrong. We just can't figure it out.
And if they don't make at least 6th place, it's their own fault because of the schedule that they have remaining. Their season is in their hands. It's in their hands. And if they don't gut it out and come through, then it's on them. And then there should be a house cleaning after it.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I think it starts from the top. I think Danny Ainge needs to
that's exactly where I'm talking. It starts from the top. You clean house.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Brad Stevens, has shown this season that he can't relate to these players, and he's not using what they're capable of. What about let's move on to some NHL. I know you're excited, Boston Bruins. My hockey guy Ron here and his Boston Bruins. They've clinched a playoff berth and currently are the 3rd seed in the East. So, again, as you discussed last week, little different playoff scenario. Conferences are playing each other first before they go in and face other teams. Currently, they'd face the Washington Capitals in the first round. If it began today, how good of a fit would that be for a first-round matchup for the Boston Bruins?
I mean, if you look at the 4 teams in that division, there's no easy team. I mean, there really isn't. I mean, you're talking Washington, Pittsburgh, and the Islanders, and they're all solid teams. And if you expand out to the rest of the NHL, I mean, you're going to have 4 of like the top 8 teams right there. I mean, that's clear. So it isn't going to be a cakewalk, but I think they are slightly better in most areas of the game comparatively to those 4 teams. Now, does that translate to, going to the Final Four of the NHL? I don't know, because there's a lot of factors that go into it. And if everybody stays healthy, and we know that's a big if, I think the Bruins can get there, and I think they've got a winning record against Washington this year. So there's no reason why they can't get past Washington. So I think they will. I think Rask will step up to the challenge. I like the siege. I like Brandon Carlo is back. And I mean, you gotta give props to Krejci and Hall making that second line just unbelievable, and Craig Smith as well. He's been lighting it up. So they've got legitimately 2 top lines. And then I don't know what happened with Coyle last night, or the night before rather. But if he's not injured, that third line is definitely a solid line as well.
So as I did some breakdown, the Boston Bruins are currently this season right now 4-3 against the Caps in the regular season. If you look at the points for, points against, the only thing that I noticed, it's glaring how much the Capitals score. They got 181 goals for against and again 155 against. Bees only have 156 goals against. So you can see that the Capitals can put the puck in the net. Boston also had
you got Ovechkin, and
yeah. and then you go back to April 11th. The Bees lost 8-1. So the possibilities of having some really bad games against the Capitals, which could be deflating in a playoff run, scare me a little bit.
Well, that game, I wiped that one off because they literally had no one on defense. Like, they had one guy playing from their starting lineup from opening day on defense. So there was no one there. So, I mean, yes, it's 8 goals and there is no excuse, but I just chalked that up as, okay, that was one to throw out. And they ended up following that up with a big win against them anyway the next game. So I'm not really worried about that. And plus, the addition with Hall and Lazar and Riley, they have been outstanding. And I really don't think scoring is going to be an issue from here on out for the rest of the year for the Bruins.
So think about this. If you take away that 8-1 loss, or even if you want to add that 8-1 loss, the Bees have outscored the Caps 18-15 in those 7 games.
Right.
So Boston's actually outscored them. So you think defensively what they've been able to do against Washington, even with Ovechkin, who's one of the best, hockey players of all time.
Oh, yeah. Well, they have a solid lineup. Don't get me wrong. Like, Washington is no slouch. I think Washington and Boston are actually the best 2 teams in the league. So, I mean, yeah, we're in for a treat of a series if that's the one that starts.
Great,
of course,
great first matchup, right? Yeah, great first matchup. Yeah, that's what
it would be. It would be.
So, interesting thing, May 11th, final game of the season at Washington.
Yes.
Boston. So, if that's a playoff preview, you think about trying to make a statement.
Oh, absolutely.
Whichever team and how they win that game could possibly, make break the playoff series.
Absolutely. And how about that? You play them last, and then you have to play them in the first series.
Yeah.
That is going to be an all-out war.
I think you
Nothing
discussed
short of that.
Yeah, I think you discussed a couple weeks ago just about playoff hockey and how exciting it is. It's really starting to look interesting. I like this playoff setup. I hope they continue.
I do too. I love it.
I think it's going to be really fun. So if you're joining us, we're on Rhode Island Broadcasting. We're on every Friday night at 6 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Follow us on social media at Sports Unfolded on Facebook and Twitter, and on Instagram on Sports_Unfolded. Normally we have a live studio audience, and we're in studio. We are doing something a little different. I am under the weather today. You probably can hear it in my voice, I'm sure. But normally we tape every Friday at 6 p.m. And I promise you I'll be in studio next weekend. So looking forward to being back with my old teammate here.
Oh yeah, looking forward to it. It's been a little bit of chaos. Being here on a Thursday, it feels a little funny, but
yeah, little different. Hopefully we get some viewerships out there on Friday. If you do chime in, ask us about joining the show. We'll let you know. We'll give you those details. And then obviously any comments that you have, we'll try to answer next week on our show next week. All right, Major League Baseball. The Boston Red Sox continue to lead in the AL East with the New York Yankees beginning to surge. I know we had discussed this earlier about Boston and New York. Boston's staying steady currently. I mean, it's early in the season when, we're a month in. But New York, the Yankees seem to have turned that corner, and the bats are starting to come alive. What do you think?
No, I don't think they hold on to it. I think they'll play well. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to play well, but they're not going to hold on to the lead. The Yankees are just too good to stay where they are. You know what I'm saying? It's clear that they got off to a slow start, and we were talking about this maybe a couple of weeks ago. And I mean, look, Yankees are going to finish first in that division. The Red Sox will get the wild card spot. And whatever happens out in the other parts of the league, that's what happens. I'm still sticking with the Angels. I'm still sticking with Chicago, and then I don't think it's going to be Houston that's going to come out of the other wild card. But the Red Sox will be there, but not hold on to the division.
Yeah, New York's still only batting .223, and you think about the bats are starting to come around. Their ERA is still at 3. They're
pitching well.
So the pitching has definitely at least kept them in games, and now that the bats are starting to come around, Stanton looks like Stanton of the Florida Marlin days. So as a Yankee fan, I'm excited to see that because
I'm sure you are.
That hasn't looked good. At
least JD's still leading the league in homers.
So far. So I think Major League Baseball blew this one, though, too. That first matchup's June 4th for both these teams. I don't understand why Major League Baseball would have waited, 2 months before you're actually going to see a first Red Sox-Yankees matchup.
I actually think that it might work to their benefit, to be honest with you, because the Yankees just haven't been playing well. So why not wait till the Yankees are back, and then when it starts to mean something, now you're going to have these two teams play in a month from now, and it's all going to be meaningful, somewhat, meaningful. Like as meaningful as a mid-season game can be. But it is Red Sox Yankees, and it's always meaningful.
But I'm saying, like, if you think about just this rivalries in sports, which actually might be a good pick and roll someday.
Yeah, that might be.
Right, but you got the Lakers Celtics, you got Boston and New York. I mean, overall, that regardless of how poorly or how good the teams are, that's always been one of those rivalries. So you would think Major League Baseball would have waited 2 months before you actually get to see a matchup between the Yankees and the Red Sox. I was a little surprised by that one.
It could have had a lot to do with like COVID and stuff like that. So they wanted to make sure that there would be fans in the stands for those matchups. When you look at it, that's money.
Great point. No, I would not even thinking about that. I'm just looking forward to seeing fans in the stands, and no, that's a great point. We may have more fans by then in stadiums, and
because they want to fill those stadiums up with Red Sox Yankee games.
And those are big ticket games. Those tickets always sell a lot more than regular season tickets.
Yeah, so I think that might be the real reason.
Oh, that's a great point. No, I like that. You mentioned the Angels, and real briefly, I know we didn't discuss, but Albert Pujols, they released him. Little surprise there. 41 years old. He's only batting like 198, I believe it was, with 5 home runs. You think about another Hall of Fame career. So
I was surprised at that.
That's a big piece for them to lose. They still got probably the best player in baseball with Trout, but your prediction about those Angels now is not looking as good.
Yeah, I still think they'll be okay. It's mostly because I really don't like most of the teams in that division.
Yeah.
I really don't. Like, I wasn't sold on Houston at all, but
I don't.
You have Oakland and Seattle. Yeah. They're not gonna win anything. Maybe one of those teams might pull out a wild card, but I don't know.
Did you happen to
see the West at all?
Yeah. Did you happen to see the fans in New York with and during the Astros game and how they? I know you're not a Yankee fan, but I know, knowing you well enough, you appreciated those fans.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? This one I'll give Yankee fans props to because absolutely deserved it.
Yeah, I love the trash can references were phenomenal.
That was nice to see, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and you know what? The funny thing is, if you think about how Houston got out of this with COVID and not having fans in the stands last season.
Yeah, they're hearing it now.
A lot of fans were definitely waiting for those opportunities to make sure they let them know that they were.
And this is why I was upset with the Sox bringing back Cora.
Yeah,
there was no need for it.
No, yeah, we discussed that before in previous shows as well, and just the fact that how do you really understand or trust the fact that it's not going to happen again? It's pretty interesting,
right? And it will. It will.
Well, NFL news. We discussed last week the first round of the draft. Now that the draft's completed, which teams do you think you felt were the biggest winners and maybe the biggest losers in the NFL draft?
Well, I would have to say Chicago is definitely the biggest winner because where they drafted and who they got.
You love Fields. You love Fields.
I do. I think he's going to be I think he's going to be the best of the class. And Chicago wins. Like that wins. And like I said last week, I think the Jets lose because I do not like Wilson. I think he's going to be the biggest bust. So. And Cincinnati, I think, lost too because they should have gone offensive line. They already had a receiver, for Burrows, and they needed a lineman first. Yeah,
a top quality lineman. I liked Miami. I thought Miami did a great job. 2 first-round draft picks with Jalen Waddle and Javon Holland, and I think they're both going to be starters. If you think about where Miami was last season. They went 10-6. They should have made the playoffs. They choked in the last game of the year. They've got a playmaker now to help Tua out. I loved, and I don't think, again, it's not overall about the player itself, but I loved what the New York Giants did. I mean, I liked Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver they got in the second round, because I think they need another playmaker. But you think about, they picked up 3 picks next season, and another one, it's a first-round pick. So they're going to have first-round draft picks next season in a weak division.
Like they're going to make a push for the division. They might win this.
I mean, what Washington win last year with 6 wins?
I know.
So I could see the New York Giants being a 10-win team.
I absolutely agree with that. And it's like, first of all, you got to wonder what's going to happen with Dallas. I mean, are they going to even stay healthy on offense, let alone defense? I mean, I'm not sure Dak will make it through a season. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Dallas has the most talent, and every year it just seems like they're the one team that, just can't get over the hurdle. Nope. Washington didn't pick up enough offensive help, I believe, to make a difference. I mean, defensively they're stout, but I think
Philly's
Philadelphia
going to be horrible.
just a train wreck. Yeah, I don't see them winning more than 4 to 5 games.
Yeah.
The Giants should win this division, and I think again they prepare themselves for next season. It all hinges on Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is going to be the key. What kind of quarterback? This is his 3rd year. This is that important 3rd year for him.
Yeah, and like if he makes even a small improvement from last season, I mean, a small improvement is a couple of wins.
Cam Newton, small improvement. You not want to go on? You don't want to get into that one?
Not yet. Not yet.
The LA Chargers, I thought, was winners as well. I mean, I like the offensive pickup. Santi Samuel Jr., Patriots, former Patriot player's son.
Look, if he's half as talented, they get a
star.
Yeah.
So 2 really good, solid players. I think they're both going to be starters as well, coming right out of day one. I didn't like the San Francisco 49ers pick with Trey Lance. You moved up. You lose 2 first-round draft picks. You get a player that is probably going to have to sit at least a year to 2 years before that he's ready. Question marks with Jimmy G after next season.
But that's the thing. Not to mention how disgruntled they make a quarterback that they do have. Like, look, first of all, they chose the wrong quarterback. Like, I would have rather had Mac Jones over him. But Fields was the guy that they should have drafted. They should have drafted him, and they made a big mistake. Now they have a quarterback problem. What do they say? If you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is what's going to happen with them. And Jimmy G is eventually going to move on because he doesn't want to be there now. Like, he got discarded. And Trey Lance is going to come in. He's not going to do it.
Yeah, and they're not the same type of quarterback. So from that standpoint, I look at it and say, okay, well, Jimmy G can move out of the pocket, but he's not one of those, Patrick Mahomes type of players. Trey Lance is compared more to a Patrick Mahomes type player. So you're going to change your offense, gear everything. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I didn't like that move. And the fact that you lose the 2 draft picks for a player that you're not even going to plan on playing this season didn't make sense to me.
Nope.
Seattle, I thought was a big lose. 2 draft picks the whole draft. They picked up Jamal Adams last season. Right?
Dreadful.
You get Jamal Adams last season, who's a legitimate player. He's a superstar. But if you think about the fact that they haven't re-signed him, so they don't even know if they're going to keep Jamal Adams. He was hurt last season. You only have 2 draft picks this season. Russell Wilson is starting to become that Aaron Rodgers type scenario. I think Seattle's in for a world of hurt this season.
Yeah, Seattle with only 2 draft picks. Like, when you have a draft, if you have 1 Pro Bowl caliber player in a draft, that is fantastic. But you're talking a bunch of players that you're drafting, and you have a lot of chances to hit. They have 2 shots at hitting. What's the chances of one of those players becoming a Pro Bowl player?
Yeah, and again, they weren't first-round draft picks. I mean, they had traded the draft picks to the Jets. The Jets picked up that offensive lineman with the 2nd pick.
Yeah, that was great too.
And you know what? Who could have used an offensive lineman? The Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
So I think they blew it. I didn't like the Raiders as well. I thought they made a stretch at 1, and a lot of the players that they picked afterwards weren't very impressive. I just don't understand what that organization was thinking as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some of these teams out there, you wonder how they even stay competitive with some of the things that they do. And Seattle, of course, like you said, is one of them. Like how much of an effect is that going to cause? Like 3 years from now, when you had really nobody in this draft, because that decimates, your depth, and they're not going to have anything. They're not going to have anything. You're looking at, 2 players that you hope that fills in spots, And then where do you go from there? So you just eliminated at least 4 or 5 more players that you should be drafting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. Excuse me. So interesting point. There's been no Chicago Bears quarterback that's thrown for over 4,000 yards, and I know how you feel about Fields. Do you think Fields finally bucks that trend and honestly makes them turns into one of those quarterbacks that the Chicago Bears have never had?
Oh, do I think he will eventually do that? But I think this team, is still defensively, built. And if they run the ball and keep Fields protected, it doesn't matter if he throws 4,000 yards. If he can put up 3,000 and keep those interceptions down, and I think Chicago can make some noise. I think he's a talented player that he can lead the team. He could possibly bring them to the playoffs this year. It's a definite upgrade.
You got to remember, he's got to beat out Andy Dalton first, though. No. So we ran a Twitter poll. Which rookie quarterback drafted in the first round, other than Mac Jones, would make the biggest impact? We got 58 votes, so I was kind of excited to see that was one of our most highest participation. But Trevor Lawrence won in a landslide. 72% say that Trevor Lawrence would be is going to have the biggest impact. Coming in second, though, was Fields at 17%.
That's the guy right there.
So, even the fans out there, the NFL fans, feel like, Fields is definitely, of the 4 quarterbacks, at least the second best quarterback that was out there.
See, there's a thing, like the biggest impact. Biggest impact doesn't necessarily mean the biggest stats.
Yeah.
Like Trevor Lawrence will probably have the most yards, maybe the most touchdowns, but he's not going to make the biggest impact. The biggest impact is going to be Fields in Chicago because they have a shot at making the playoffs. Lawrence is not making the playoffs this year.
But the Jags won, 3 games last year? If you win 6, that's pretty impressive.
It is. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying impact-wise, I think Fields will make the biggest impact.
No, I agree. No, I think you have a good point there. And you think about Chicago's defense. That defense is good enough to, as long as you don't make mistakes, they can definitely win some games. Favorite time of the show, Ron?
Oh, pick and roll.
Pick and roll, baby. Pick and roll, my man. Pick and roll. Nice. So we've done a lot of pick and rolls on this show. This one is our first worst of. So we do the best
Let's
of.
Go Jets.
Let's go Jets. Jets, right? So of the first round quarterbacks that they drafted, so obviously they drafted Zach Wilson in the first round. We're not counting him because he hasn't, suited up yet and thrown a single pass in the NFL. Which of the quarterbacks that they've drafted in their franchise's history has been the worst? So from 5 to 1, 5 being the best of the worst, 1 being the worst quarterback. And our candidates are.
Wait. So the worst quarterback should be number 1?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I got to reverse then.
Yeah, you got to reverse. Who's the number 1 worst quarterback?
All right.
So of those quarterbacks, we're looking at Richard Todd, Ken O'Brien, Chad Pennington, Mark Sanchez, and Sam Darnold. I went first last week, my friend. Your pick and roll.
All right. I'm loving this. At number 5, I have Mark Sanchez. Yes, Mark Sanchez. He had a winning record. You blowing my mind away right now. He was 33-29. I think he was the best. Borderline best of the worst. Wow.
I am.
I would take Mark Sanchez over any of these others. It's only a slim margin over Chad Pennington.
I pray our fans are voting in on this one because that one blows my mind, my friend.
So Chad Pennington, I have at number 4.
Okay.
Again, he had one less win than Mark Sanchez, but I mean, I gave the butt fumble. I felt a little bad for Mark Sanchez, so I made him, get a little higher than Chad Pennington because of the butt fumble. I felt bad for him.
Okay.
So, number 3, I have Ken O'Brien. So 50 and 55 with one tie.
Yeah.
Played 9 seasons. He did have 124 touchdowns.
He did.
And twice he had 25. So, I mean, that's pretty decent. If it wasn't for his win total, I would have put him, higher, but he had a losing record. So that's
Okay.
it.
No, I see.
Number 2, I have Richard Todd. So Richard Todd, again, 9 games under 500, 42 and 51 with one tie.
One tie.
He had 110 touchdowns with 25 in one season. That one season was a good year, but, not good overall. Like most of these quarterbacks were really not good overall. But number 1, I had to put Sam Darnold because he was just absolute train wreck for this team. And I'm not saying it's his fault. I still think he could end up being a good quarterback. But for the Jets, he was horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And it all has to do with coaching and what you have put around him, which was basically nothing.
No, hey, man, that was some good points. We see things a lot differently.
I'm sure we do.
So, as usual, on Pick and Rolls, this is pretty fun because it's funny how we both look at things a little differently. At number 5, I had Ken O'Brien. So, again, your record, you spoke of the record 50, 55, and 1. Almost, he threw over 24,000 yards. Yeah. 124 touchdowns. So out of all these quarterbacks, had the most touchdowns. 95 interceptions, second worst though. But 106 games, 0-2 in the playoffs. In the playoffs, he had 2 touchdowns, interceptions. I love these numbers. I'm sorry, I have. But he was a 2-time Pro Bowler. So if you think of all the 4 guys, he's the only guy that was a Pro Bowler. Put him to the top.
It's sad. It's sad.
We agree. Chad Pennington at 4, I agreed with you there. Did have a winning record, so 32 and 29. 82 touchdowns, 55 interceptions. So you think through 61 games, not bad. 2 and 3 in the playoffs, so 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He was the 2006 Comeback Player of the Year. Gave him a notch for that.
Yeah.
I mean, the man came back from an injury, played well.
And yeah, sure.
I mean, if as I was doing this, I said if any of these were New England Patriots quarterbacks, I probably wouldn't be a fan right now.
Probably anyway, not.
At number 3, I put Sam Darnold, and the only reason why I put Sam Darnold at 3 is because I think he was in a gray area of he just hasn't played enough. He was 13 and 25. He was 45 touchdowns, 39 interceptions, but he only played in 38 games. I don't think we had enough of a sample that bad where he's the worst. Give it another. If you look at of all the guys,
those numbers are bad.
Almost every guy though that we looked at double the amount of games. So I kind of gave him a break on that and saying, look, if he, give me another 30 games, and if he would be by far the worst. So I would give him 1 if he played 30 more games with the same kind of record. At number 2, I put Mark Sanchez. Yes, he had a winning record. Threw for 12,000 yards, 68 touchdowns, 69 interceptions. Not very good. 4-2 in the playoffs, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Not bad numbers.
4-2 in the playoffs. 4-2.
If you think about this though, those teams were competitive and challenging. I think he went to the AFC Championship one year and somehow couldn't do enough. He had probably more talent than most of these other guys did, and for some reason just couldn't win. My number one.
For some reason, the reason is they're the Jets.
Exactly. My number one was Richard Todd. 42 and 51, like you said, with the one tie. 18,000 yards. How about this? 110 touchdowns, 138 interceptions. That's pretty impressive.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Played 94 games for the Jets. He went 2-2 in the playoffs, so you say that's not bad. He had 4 touchdowns and 12 interceptions in the playoffs.
Hey, he was my number 2, so we weren't far off.
I'm just as this was fun, the best of the worst, but I feel for Jets fans.
Bad.
I feel for Jets fans. I mean, this was this.
Like,
this
why?
Is,
okay, my question is, why are there still Jets fans? Like, I don't understand why people are rooting for this team.
There's souls out there that are just waiting for a glimmer of hope. So you become a Jets fan, and then you just, for the rest of your life, you wait.
Yeah, they've been waiting a long time.
Quality quarterbacks there.
If my prediction is true, they will be waiting for a long time still.
So Zach Wilson might be on this list next year at some point for us.
Yeah, he's going to be. He's going to be.
So if you're joining us, we are on Rhode Island Broadcasting. We're on every Friday night on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Follow us on social media at Sports Unfolded on Facebook and Twitter, and on Instagram on Sports_Unfolded. So we are going to go into our face-off, and this is going to be interesting how we're going to pick this, because I don't know how we pick this. Excuse me. Our face-off's going to be Bill Belichick has stated that Cam Newton will be the team's starting quarterback. Is this a move you're for, or is this a move you're against? I'm going to let you pick which one you want to argue, since you say you always get the one that you don't want.
Well, why don't we just go with what we both want? Because you are going to say yes, and I am going to say no. So,
okay.
You know,
I'm actually against it, but that's fine.
Oh, okay. All right.
But
so I'll take 4.
You're for it?
Okay. 4. That's fine.
All right. Whenever you're ready, let me know.
Wait. I went first last time.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm first. All right, so I am against this move. And I'm gonna start right now. So basically, Bill Belichick has always been a coach that I've respected, where every position is up for grabs. Every position is one that you compete for, one that, is an open competition. There is no one player. Even when Tom was there, you'd always hear about how he would kind of make sure that Tom even knew that, look, anybody could take your job at any given time. Naming Cam Newton after drafting a quarterback in the first round, basically telling me that you're already assuming that Cam Newton is better than Mac Jones, and I'm not saying Mac Jones is better. I'm saying let it be an open competition. Let the chips fall where they may. This was a different move for Bill Belichick. I know we've had a crazy offseason, things he's never done in the past, but I can't recall ever him naming a starting position anytime other than when it was game day and he was writing it on a piece of paper. So this move surprised me. I didn't like it. I'm not saying Cam won't be the starting quarterback or shouldn't be the starting quarterback. What I'm saying is I didn't like the fact that he named him the starting quarterback before they even took the practice field for training camp. So that baffled me. That's time.
Very nice.
All right. You are for it. So whenever you're ready. I know you're not ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Ready and go.
So naming the quarterback, Cam Newton, actually does create competition, because it tells those guys that are sitting on the bench saying you need to do something to take the job from him. So, of course, we have Stidham and we have Mac Jones. Now, they both think that they're on the outs because of this. So now they're going to come into camp. They're going to come into camp wanting it more because they know they have to make an impression. So especially Stidham. Stidham needs this. If he doesn't take the job from Cam Newton, he's out of a job and out of the league. And here we go, Calgary Stampede. Mac Jones is thinking, all right, well, I'm going to be redshirt, so I need to do something to put me in the mix. And he's going to come out, and he's going to study, and he's going to come out and try to play and beat out Cam Newton. Cam Newton is being the tool right here.
That's time. That was a great argument. You know what? I didn't look at it that way. I think yeah, you won that one. I think the fans will say you won that one. I concede on that one. That was a very good argument. Great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Great job. Hey, I'll give you one finally.
I was surprised that he named him the quarterback too, as well.
Yeah, it's so out of character for him. Like I've never seen him do that. I think maybe
he's hoping that triggers Cam Newton saying, "Okay, now I can just focus and play the game," while the other two have to, really take that job because they have to be the ones to impress and take the job away.
I agree. Jarrett Stidham's the odd man out at this point. I can't see how he's
got a tough camp.
Yeah, he's done. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, I don't see him there.
So great face-off, as usual. You made some really good points.
Got my game today.
You're top of your game, my man. That was some really good. I didn't even think of that argument. Let's move on to predictions. So last week you won. You went 2-1. Not bad. It all came down to the game last night with the Golden Knights in the Wild, and Golden Knights pulled it out. So you got lucky, 3-2.
Isn't that the one I kind of talked you into going the Wild?
It was a close game. I came in close. It was close.
Yeah.
All right. So this week we're looking at the Lightning at the Panthers, and that's on May 8th.
Yeah, I mean, you get these teams rolling into the playoffs, and the Lightning are the Lightning, but Florida is playing pretty well this year, and they have something to prove because we're looking at the Lightning, Carolina, and Florida are the teams. So I'm going to go Florida.
I'm going to agree. Florida's at home. The records are almost similar. I think the Lightning are only a game or two ahead of them in the win column. And I just think at home, to your point, playoffs coming up, I think that, they're going to try to, in front of the home fans. I have to do it to you again, as usual.
Right.
May 10th, Islanders at the Bruins. I mean, I know the Bruins have broken that streak now of not being able to beat them, and they beat them a few times. But I know you love picking this game every time that they've played.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the Bruins were going to keep that going because they still have something to play for. I'm getting an echo all of a sudden. But I think the Bruins do take the game because they still have something to prove because they still want to get that top seed.
I'm going to go Islanders. Yeah, I'm going to go Islanders because of the fact that they are struggling and they're definitely in that playoff mix of not making it. So I think they're going to fight a little harder and have to come out and show that they're a better team than the Bruins if they want to stay in this playoff race. How about on May 7th? We got the Nuggets at the Jazz.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Jazz on this one. I think the Jazz just have a better thing going right now than what Denver has, and I think they're just gonna. I think it's not even going to be close, to be honest with you.
Denver blew out. I don't even know who they played last night. Jokic had 24 points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I think the Nuggets are starting to really prove that. They're the third seed. The Jazz have slipped a little bit. I like the Nuggets in this matchup. I just think that Jokic is He's fighting for MVP now at this point, and he needs some wins against some quality teams.
Luka.
Luke. On May 11th, the Knicks at the Lakers.
Let me see. What's the date today?
Today is the 6th.
So in 5 days. I don't see LeBron coming back for that. I think it's going to be the Knicks, and I think it could be ugly at times. I just think they're just going to pound away on the Lakers, and they're not going to have any ability to stop them, I don't think.
I'm going Lakers. Knicks are on the West Coast trip. AD is back. I think AD is going to have one of those AD games. Yeah, he'll maybe. But I just think the Knicks, as good as they've been, they lost again. They lost last night and they lost ugly. And it was just, I think this West Coast trip might be a reality check for them. Before they go back to the East Coast.
It would be good for the Celtics, if they flounder.
Yeah,
but I don't see it happening. And
we need Miami to tank right now. That's the only shot the Celtics have.
Yeah. Watch out for those Washington. I almost said Bullets. The Wizards.
You made fun of my, San Diego Chargers. Yeah, see?
Yeah.
They haven't been the Bullets in how long? Holy cow. Yeah, Washington.
They play well.
Washington Wizards are definitely. I mean, it's crazy that the fact that they're in the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
I still can't believe the way they started. And the interesting stat, do you realize, and I know I'm going off topic here, but Bradley Beal, any game that he scored 40 points or more, the team in his career is 7-22. How's that possible? You got a guy that drops 40 plus and somehow can't win. 7-22. It's not even close. I mean, that stat blew my mind. All right. Hopefully you enjoyed the show today. If you're joining us next week, we will be on at 6 p.m. on Friday at the Dr. Fix-It Complex. If you'd like to join us live, please, reach out to the show and we'll let you know details on how to do that. Next week, really excited about discussing NHL hockey playoffs and NBA playoffs. Both will be just right around the corner, and we'll probably have some matchups. So we'll be able to discuss who we're picking on these matchups and where we're going from there. If you haven't watched the show before, what we do to end our show is our final thought. Our final thought can be on anything that not necessarily sports, really something that's going on in the world. I went first last week, so you're going first this week, Ron? Or is it vice versa? Right? Correct?
Yeah, I can go first. That's fine.
All right, your final thought.
Wilson. That's all I got to say. Washington Capitals still employ this guy as he not only did he cross-check somebody's face into the ice, gets up and then basically tackles Panarin, drives his head into the ice, and just punching him in the back of the head and all that stuff from a guy that has been suspended time after time after time and only got a fine for this. He could have seriously injured two players on the same basic incident. Two. And one of them is the face of a franchise. And how many times is it going to take for the NHL to come down hard on this guy? You can say a lot about a bunch of players in the league, and Marchand is one of them. His antics, he licks somebody's face. That isn't as bad as pounding somebody's face into the ice or purposely trying to give an elbow up into the head. It's a little different. He's a dirty player, doesn't belong in the NHL. He hasn't cleaned up his act, and he needs to go.
Yeah. No, I saw the highlights of that. What is it, over 100 penalty minutes?
Yeah,
like right in the first the first
it was
period. Like
awful. It was ugly.
unbelievable. Just not a good look for the NHL.
No.
My final thought is just about the Aaron Rodgers situation and being a Patriot fan and knowing losing Tom Brady. How difficult it can be for fans. If you can't see behind me, I've been a Patriot fan for a long time. Having to see Tom in a different uniform, the Call of Duty, the Halo. But if we're looking at how this is going to turn out, he's going to win. There'll be a franchise that gets Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are ecstatic they got Tom Brady and won a Super Bowl. But after that, if you look at how a Patriot fan has to look at it and what we're trying to go through now, the organization's going through, it's not a fun time. Green Bay, if you're smart, you're going to try to figure this out. Keep Aaron Rodgers for the next 4 to 5 years because it's not going to turn out the way you want it to. And I think some of the teams that they're even discussing Aaron Rodgers going to, I can't see Denver Broncos getting him to a Super Bowl. So I don't think he'll be happy with his decision at the end of the day. And the fans are the ones that ultimately are going to pay the price. But hopefully it turns out differently, but it's not looking good. Thank you for joining us on Rhode Island Broadcasting. We're on every Friday night at 6 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Social media at Sports Unfolded on Facebook and Twitter, and on Instagram on Sports_Unfolded. It's been a great show. Been a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for dealing with me and my illness today. I appreciate it.
That's all good.
But I'll see you next week in studio. We'll make sure we knock it out of the park.
Absolutely.
All right.
Everybody take care.
Fans out there, take care. Thank you. Have a good night.